Hello, friends. I hope you're keeping well as usual. I just want to make a small announcement regarding this book, Ernest Sato's Japanese book collection at Cambridge University Library by Noboru Koyama, which was translated by me. And the announcement is that, I've made a new size. This is 8.5 by 11 inch, which is large, a large paperback, you'd have to say. The font size is good for some people, people who prefer larger fonts. But look at this fanfare. Ba-ba, da-da. 6 by 9 inch size of the same book, absolutely the same contents with the same page numbers and everything. And just handier to hold. Although, on the other hand, as I've just said, or indicated, that the font size is smaller, but it's pretty clear font. It's very clear, in fact. So for those who prefer a smaller size, that's it. And they're both sizes are available as paperbacks and as hardcovers, and indeed as a Kindle on Amazon.com. Amazon Japan doesn't do hardcovers at the moment. Amazon UK does, although I have a feeling they're made in Germany and shipped over. But what the heck? At any rate, let's begin reading the second part of chapter 2, if I can just find the point which I want to share. Let me see. I think it's this one. Does that look right? Yes, it does. Okay, so my reading is following on from previous reading. So it's simply reading the text. But you can obviously listen to this, or you can listen and read with me. Anyway, here we go. The collections of Sekine Shisei and Sakata Moroto. In this chapter, I have introduced 5 relevant people: Shiraishi Mamichi, Shiraishi Senbetsu, Miyamoto Koichi, Sekine Shisei, and Sakata Moroto. Of these 5, the last 2 have no direct connection with Ernest Sato and are only linked to him through their collections and Sato's. Sato never had any close relations with Sekine and Sakata. Here I would like to introduce their collections. Sekine Shisei, Ukiyo-e ruikō, Shisei Airoku 84, Zoho Ukiyo-e ruikō, Shisei Airoku 85, Ukiyoe shi Ryakuden, Shisei Airoku 203, and Iwademo no Ki. And Sakata Moroto, Ukiyoe shi no Den, Ukiyoe shi being the history of Ukiyo-e, Ukiyo-e ruikō, Sakata Bon, F30-96, Zoho Ukiyo-e ruikō, Shisei Zoho Bon, F30-118, Ukiyo-e ruikō, Nakahara Bon, F30-117, and Iwademo no Ki. First, I would like to explain the references above after the titles. The numbers after Shisei Airoku were attached to Sekine Shisei's manuscripts in his collection. They are convenient when distinguishing the Ukiyo-e ruikō manuscripts in Sekine Shisei's collection. Shisei Airoku means that they are handwritten manuscripts in his collection. Sakata Bon and Nakahara Bon means the books are part of Sakata Nakahara Moroto's collection. The numbers thereafter were added by Tokyo University Library as reference numbers. Shisei Zoho Bon means the book is an original manuscript of the Zoho Ukiyo-e ruikō from Sekine's former collection, or a copy of it. Zoho Ukiyo-e ruikō, Shisei Airoku 85, is also a Shisei Zoho Bon. It is the original Shisei Zoho Bon. Chart of Ukiyo-e ruikō according to collectors and lineages. In this chapter, I am introducing 4 manuscripts: Zoho Ukiyo-e ruikō, Ukiyo-e ko, Ukiyo-e shi no Den, and Iwademo no Ki, and 5 people who collected them. The last 2 mentioned, Sekine Shisei and Sakata Moroto, are directly involved as collectors with the 4 manuscripts. Next, I would like to create a chart showing the collections of these 2 and the collections of Ernest Sato and Saito Gesshin. Sato, Geshin, Shisei, and Moroto, who all had the 4 manuscripts in their collections, the types of manuscripts and lineage, etc., are all to be put in one chart. This should make the connections a little easier to understand. The title is Chart of Ukiyo-e Ruikō according to collectors and lineages. The 4 manuscripts are in Sato's collection, Zoho Ukiyo-e Ukiyo-e Ruikō, Ukiyo-e Shi no Den, and Bakin's manuscript Iwademo no Ki. Apart from the following classification of Ukiyo-e Ruikō, 3 kinds of Ukiyo-e Ruikō, in order to classify Ukiyo-e Ruikō, different classifications have been used by others. For example, Nakashima Osamu, in his Ukiyo-e Ruikō Seiritsu, Hensenshi no Kenkyu, has a total of 8 classifications. So this classification of Ukiyo-e Ruikō is just one example. Referring to the chart, I want to explore the transcription of manuscripts. Of course, they are not all clear. There are many unclear parts. I want to explain the parts that are clear. Focusing on Ukiyo-e Ruikō and Iwademo no Ki, I will look at the transcriptions. I will begin with Iwademo no Ki. Chart of Ukiyo-e Ruikō according to collectors and lineages. I don't think I'm going to read all of that. Just take a look. So we've got manuscript Sato, Saito Geshin, Sekine Shisei, and Sakata Moroto. And the 4 manuscripts on the left. And on the right, each individual collector. Okay. Iwademo no Ki. As we know from the Cambridge University Library's catalogue of Japanese books, Ernest Sato's former manuscript of Iwademo no Ki was a copy done by Shiraishi Choko from the manuscript in Sakata Moroto's collection. Sato purchased that copy by Shiraishi. As for the copying process, since Shiraishi made a copy, first Nagai Jusoku made a copy from Kawatake's collection, Saito Geshin prepared the manuscript, Kee-tah-kew-shoo made a copy and prepared the manuscript. Then Sakata Moroto made a further copy. The transcription process in order was therefore Kawatake to Nagai Jusoku it's 2. Kawatake to Nagai Jusoku 2, Saito Geshin 2, Kee-tah-kew-shoo 2, Sakata Moroto 2, Shiraishi. That's the English 2, okay? Not Japanese to. Was the Mr. Kawatake in fact Kawatake Mokuami? In that case, he was Sekine Shisei's acquaintance. And who was Kee-tah-kew-shoo? Is there some connection with Tatsuta Shukin mentioned in the previous chapter? Or is it just a coincidence in the reading of Tatsuta and they had absolutely no connection? Various questions come to the surface. In the postscript of Iwademo no Ki was the person who lived near to the Iwashimizu Hachimangu shrine at Asakusa Kuramae, in fact, Tatsuta-kew. At this stage, these points are unclear. Shiraishi Choko is probably either Shiraishi the father or the son, although it could, of course, be a third person. If that is the case, it is probably a relative, since the characters for the family name are the same. But it seems likely, from the calligraphic style of the manuscript now in the Cambridge University Library, to have been Shiraishi Mamichi. In the postscript of the Iwademo no Ki held at Cambridge University Library, it is stated that the manuscript was borrowed by Shiraishi Mamichi from Sakata Moroto and produced on August the 15th, 1875 by the lunar calendar. Mamichi refers to Sakata Moroto as Wagatomo Sakata-o, my friend old Sakata. But Sakata was his superior and 37 or 38 years older than him. Would Shiraishi Mamichi really describe his superior in that way? Maybe Shiraishi Senbetsu could refer to Sakata in that way. Again, from what is written in the Iwademo no Ki in Sakata Moroto's former collection, it is clear that Saito Geshin also had a manuscript of Iwademo no Ki. As will be stated later, Sato acquired 2 copies of Ukiyo-e Ruikō from Saito Geshin's former collection. When Geshin created Zoho Ukiyo-e Ruikō as his basic text, he used Zoku Ukiyo-e Ruikō, but he did not use the other Ukiyo-e Ruikō, and this requires explanation which will be given later. Sato acquired the Iwademo no Ki from Shiraishi. At that point, the question arises what happened to Saito Geshin's Iwademo no Ki, copied in Bunkyu 2 by Geshin from Nagai Jusoku's collection. This point too is unclear. Sekine Shisei also had Iwademo no Ki manuscript in his collection, but this was the copy written by Kanagaki Robun. Shisei does not seem to have borrowed Geshin's book and made a copy, but it is possible that Kanagaki Robun made his copy from Shiraishi. Robun and Shiraishi Senbetsu worked together at the Iroha Shimbun newspaper. They certainly knew each other. Again, as I have already quoted Tsuboichi Shoryo's story, Memory of Sekine Shisei, Tsuboichi seems to have learned from Shisei of the existence of Iwademo no Ki and Kumo no Itomaki. Sekine Shisei's copy of Iwademo no Ki also influenced Tsuboichi Shoryo. Furthermore, the collector Hayashi Wakaki writes in his book, 100 copy of Iwademo no Ki by Sekine Shisei was exchanged for a bag of chopsticks with Yasuda. This means that the Iwademo no Ki copied by Sekine Shisei himself was bought by Yasuda Zenjiro II, and Hayashi Wakaki acquired it from him. Iwademo no Ki is quite a short work, so it must have been easy to make many copies. Sekine may have had many copies, sorry. The same thing may apply to the Shiraishi father and son, Senbetsu and Mamichi. Apart from the copy which they handed over to Sato, they may have kept another copy. Summarizing the situation of the copies made of Iwademo no Ki, it is as follows. 1. Kawatake, Nagai Jusoku, Saito Gesshin, Tatsuta Karyu, Sakata Moroto, Shiraishi, Sato. 2. Kanagaki Robun, Sekine Shisei. Ukiyo-e no Den. Ukiyo-e being history of Ukiyo-e. Ukiyo-e. In addition to the Iwademo no Ki, Sato also acquired the Ukiyo-e no Den manuscript from Shiraishi father and son, or from Mamichi the son, who was his librarian. First, Shiraishi father and son, or Mamichi, borrowed the manuscript of Ukiyo-e no Den from Sakata Moroto, and Mamichi prepared a copy of the manuscript. That is the copy which is now in Sato's former collection in the Cambridge University Library. These things are clear from the imprint, inki, the postscript, okugaki, and the calligraphic style, shotai. This manuscript has the imprint Shiraishi collection, and in the postscript is written, copied in Meiji 9 from the collection of Chikuin-o. It is not certain that Chikuin-o was Sakata Moroto, but it is probably him. Mamichi borrowed Sakata Moroto's manuscript in the spring of Meiji 9, 1876, and made a copy. And the calligraphy appears to be that of Shiraishi Mamichi. Moroto's pen name was Koin, which indicates bamboo grove, and Chikuin-o means an old man who lives in the shade of bamboo. And both words, Koin and Chikuin-o, are related too. So, Shiraishi Senbetsu or Mamichi borrowed the manuscript from Sakata Moroto and then made a copy of it. The original manuscript of Ukiyo-e no Den was by Sakata Moroto, and it is called a Sakata book with reference F30-96. The Sakata book, along with the Sakata Bunko, entered the Nanki Bunko, and after the Great Kanto earthquake of 1923, the Nanki Bunko was donated to Tokyo Imperial University Library, so now it is held by Tokyo University Library. The Sakata book was copied or made imitating Fujinoya Zuihitsu, an essay by Fujinoya. Fujinoya was active as a satirical tanka poet, kyokashi, in the Bakumatsu and Meiji eras, and his full name was Fujinoya Takamine, 1831 to 1900. He was a tobacconist in the Honjo area of Edo. He was born in 1831, Tempo 2, and died in 1900, Meiji 33. He was 21 years younger than Sakata Moroto, 14 years younger than Shiraishi Senbetsu, and 6 years younger than Sekine Shisei. As a relatively old version of the Ukiyo-e Ruikō, there is the Jingu Bon, book from the Jingu Bunko, by Kondo Seisai. The Jingu Bunko is the library of Ise Shrine. Yura Tetsuji, the compiler of So-ko Nihon Ukiyo-e Ruikō, investigated the Jingu book and the Sakata book in the Tokyo University Library. In So-ko Nihon Ukiyo-e Ruikō, Yura Tetsuji notes that the Sakata book of all the currently existing Ukiyo-e Ruikō books, along with the Jingu book, is the oldest form and the most precious. The Jingu book is the Ukiyo-e Kosho, a type of Ukiyo-e Ruikō, which is included in Zoku Kiki Mama no Ki in the Jingu Bunko. Ukiyo-e Kosho is a part of Zoku Kiki Mama no Ki. Regarding the Ukiyo-e Ruikō manuscript on which Kondo Seisai made notes, the similarity with the manuscript of Ukiyo-e Ruikō, which used the Koga Biko, notes on old paintings, as a source, has been indicated. The Koga Biko was compiled by Asaoka Okisada, 1800 to 1856, and is a large directory of painters. It is thought to be the source of the Ukiyo-e ruikō manuscript, which has no direct connection with Ukiyo-e no Den. They do appear to be similar. With regard to writing about sharaku, as already mentioned in the preface of this book, Saito Geshin's Zoho Ukiyo-e ruikō is an important reference book manuscript. But there are several other manuscripts of Ukiyo-e ruikō which are also useful. One of these is the original text, Genpon, of the Ukiyo-e no Den, held at Cambridge University Library, which is the Sakata book, F30-96, held at Tokyo University Library. The point of interest in the Sakata book is written in red ink, Ini Sharaku Sain Tomo Ari. And between the entry for Utagawa, Kunimasa, and Sharaku, there is another comment in red ink, Game nan toyu, and Zokume Kinji Yagenbori Fudo Mai Dori Sumidagawa Ryogishi Ichiran no Hisha. I refers to a different book, and it means that Sharaku was called Sharakusai in a different book. Also, we can understand that Sharaku lived in Yagenbori and that he was called Kinji. In the Cambridge University Library copy of the Sakata book, which is quite faithful, very similar annotations can be found. So the Cambridge copy of Ukiyo-e no Den is virtually identical to the Sakata book. In the above chart of Ukiyo-e ruikō, according to collectors and lineages, where the line Ukiyo-e no Den meets the column Sekine Shisei, I have included Ukiyo-e Ryakuden as a reference document. This book was started in 1881 and the compilation was finished in 1885. When it was created, 5 manuscripts of Ukiyo-e ruikō were consulted. The 5 manuscripts may have included Sakata Moroto's Ukiyo-e ruikō F30-96, in other words, Ukiyo-e no Den. That is why I have included Ukiyo-e Ryakuden, Shisei Airoku 203, as a reference document in the chart. Ukiyo-e Ryakuden was a manuscript, but the development of it was necessary, and other works depended on it, including Ukiyo-e Gajinden, 1899, Ukiyo-e Meika Shoden, 1900, and Ukiyo-e Hyakkaden, 1925. The first 2 of these were produced by Sekine Shisei's second cousin, Sekine Mokuan, and Ukiyo-e Hyakkaden was published by his eldest son, Sekine Masanao. In the foreword of Ukiyo-e Hyakkaden, the way it came about is explained as follows. Zoho Ukiyo-e ruikō was completed in Tempo 4, 1833, and its compiler was Mumeo, a hermit who lived in Shigure no Oka. Shigure no Oka. He was Keisai Eisen himself, who lived in Negishi at that time. Then Saito Geshin also added some parts to the book. My late father, Sekine Shisei, borrowed it from Saito Geshin and copied it by hand and kept it at home. He wrote that it was done in spring of KO3, 1867. This biography, Ukiyo-e Hyakkaden, was based on those people's works, Mumeo's Zoho Ukiyo-e Zoho Ukiyo-e Saito Geshin's Zoho Ukiyo-e and Sekine Shisei's Zoho Ukiyo-e and that of Takabatake Ransen. But I, Sekine Masanao, have removed unnecessary parts and have added and complemented new and latest artists and completed the book in spring of Meiji 1885. In the foreword by Sekine Masanao, the origin of Ukiyo-e Hyakkaden and Ukiyo-e Ryakuden are explained. In the above quotation, Takabatake Ransen, Ryūtei Tanehiko III, appears. In the previous chapter, I referred to the Zote Ukiyo-e ruikō, edited by Ryūtei Tanehiko III in the former collection of Hayashi Tadamasa, but there is an interesting point when considering the manuscript of Ukiyo-e ruikō. It may be important to note that Takabatake Ransen was in a position to have access to the manuscript of Ukiyo-e ruikō. In the above chart of Ukiyo-e ruikō, according to collectors and lineages, I have listed for reference the manuscripts and books which have a direct or indirect connection to Ukiyo-e no Den. And returning to the problem of transcription, I want to summarize the situation, focusing only on Ukiyo-e no Den. Fujinoya Takamine to Sakata Moroto to Shiraishi to Sato. Zoho Ukiyo-e ruikō. The process by which Zoho Ukiyo-e ruikō in Saito Geshin's former collection was transcribed was as follows. Saito Geshin's manuscript was purchased by ERNEST Sato. Sekine Shisei borrowed Zoho Ukiyo-e ruikō from Geshin and in 1868 created Zoho Ukiyo-e ruikō. This is called the Shisei Zoho Bon. As previously stated, there are many points of difference with Saito Geshin's Zoho Ukiyo-e Riko. Sekine Shisei's Zoho Ukiyo-e Riko, Shisei Airoku 85, or Shisei Zoho Bon, was copied by Otsuki Joden. This copy was borrowed by Sakata Moroto, who transcribed a copy in Atami in 1886. This is the manuscript held at Tokyo University Library as Zoho Ukiyo-e Riko, Shisei Zoho Bon, F30-118. The manuscript in Sakata Moroto's collection is a copy of Shisei's manuscript, so it was not a straight copy of Geshin's manuscript. Sakata Moroto and Otsuki Joden may have made faithful copies of it, but the book in Shisei's collection was not a straight copy of the book in Geshin's collection. It almost seems like Chinese whispers, doesn't it? Things get distorted along the way, but anyway. However, at Tokyo University Library, there are two Zoho Ukiyo-e Ruikō manuscripts. One was made by Sakata Moroto, who copied Shisei's manuscript, and there is another one. This is called Todai Geshin Bon, 3 volumes, in Nakashima Osamu's book, Ukiyo-e Ruikō Seiritsu Hensenshi no Kenkyu. According to Nakashima's research, the Todai Geshin Bon, F30-629, is a very faithful copy of the original Geshin Zoho Bon. It is a different manuscript to Sekine Shisei Zoho Ukiyo-e Riko with all its changes and omissions, copied by Otsuki Joden and ending up as Sakata Moroto's Zoho Ukiyo-e Riko. Tokyo University Library has various versions of Ukiyo-e Riko, including the Sakata Bon F30-96 Ukiyo-e Shino-den, the Nakahara Bon F30-117, Shisei Zoho Bon F30-118 Zoho Ukiyo-e Riko, Geshin Bon F30-629 Zoho Ukiyo-e Riko, Seishu Bon F30-557 Shin Zoho Ukiyo-e Riko, etc. After the Great Kanto earthquake, Tokyo Imperial University Library bought the Seishu Bunko collection. Also, the Sakata Bon, Nakahara Bon, Shisei Zoho Bon, etc. were absorbed into Tokyo Imperial University Library's collection. That should be into, not into, I think, there. Summarizing the transcription and movement of the Zoho Ukiyo-e Riko, it is as follows. 1. Saito Geshin to Sato. 2. Saito Geshin to Sekine Shisei to Otsuki Joden to Sakata Moroto. Ukiyo-e Ko. In the above chart of Ukiyo-e Riko, according to collectors and lineages, the most troublesome part is the reference to Ukiyo-e Ko and similar books. In particular, there are many uncertainties about Ukiyo-e Ko and also some baffling parts. Here I will concentrate on what is known and things which can probably be ascertained. I shall leave the unclear parts unexplained. The known unknowns, is that? Okay. What is clear regarding transcriptions is the connection between the Ukiyo-e Riko in Sekine Shisei's former collection, Sekine Airoku 84, and in Sakata Moroto's former collection, Nakahara Bon F30-117. Moroto borrowed Shisei's book and created the Nakahara book. Strictly speaking, Otsuki Joden copied Sekine's book, and Moroto copied Joden's book. The Nakahara book is from the former Sakata Bunko and is now in the Tokyo University Library. Suzuki Juzo wrote a commentary about the 3 copies of Ukiyo-e Riko in Sekine Shisei's collection in Sekine Bunko Senshu Part 1 Supplement 2 Commentary. The title of his essay was Sekine Airoku 84 Ukiyo-e Riko, Sekine Airoku 85 Zoho Ukiyo-e Riko, Sekine Airoku 203 Ukiyo-e Shi, Ryakuden Kaisetsu. 84, 85, 203, I suppose I should have said. In that commentary, Suzuki refers to the manuscript of Ukiyo-e Riko in the preface of Zoho Ukiyo-e Riko. It is very useful in checking Ukiyo-e Riko and similar books, so I want to use Suzuki's commentary to explain the situation. In the commentary, Suzuki states his belief that Sekine Shisei's Ukiyo-e Riko, Airoku 84, 84, and Saito Geshin's Ukiyo-e Riko are copies, one of the other. Geshin's Ukiyo-e Riko is in the chart. Suzuki thought that since Sekine Shisei borrowed and copied Geshin's Zoho Ukiyo-e Riko for his collection, in the same way, he borrowed Geshin's Ukiyo-e Riko and created Shisei Airoku 84. Geshin's Ukiyo-e Riko, according to the preface of Zoho Ukiyo-e Riko, was copied by Geshin in the summer of 1833 from a book in the collection of Kataoka Isseishi. Kataoka's book was itself a copy from the collection of Suishoshi, borrowed from the painter Hanabusa Ikke. In fact, Suzuki had in his possession the Ukiyo-e Ruikō of the sculptor Takamura Koun. This manuscript, Suzuki Juzo Kazobon, was formerly in the collection of Suishoshi and borrowed and copied from Hanabusa. Suzuki Juzo guesses that Geshin's Ukiyo-e Ruikō's parent book, Oyabon, was his own Suzuki Juzo Kazobon Kataokabon. In the postscript, Shikigo, Suzuki guesses that Geshin transcribed the Kataokabon. Since Suzuki Juzo writes a commentary about the Ukiyo-e Ruikō in Sekine Shisei's former collection, Shisei Airoku 84, 84, of course, he compared the manuscripts of Sekine and the Kataokabon. The books are similar, but there are parts missing in Shisei's book. In fact, in the Nakahara-bon of Ukiyo-e Ruikō, the same parts are missing. Again, in the Nakahara-bon, there is the postscript, which Nakahara Sakata Moroto copied from Otsuki Joden when he borrowed the manuscript at Atami in 1886. Furthermore, as we know from other manuscripts of Ukiyo-e Ruikō, Joden copied Shisei's book from his collection. Regarding the connection between the copies, it can be guessed that the parent book of the Nakahara book is Shisei's Ukiyo-e Ruikō, Shisei Airoku 84, 84. Therefore, it seems clear that the Nakahara book of Ukiyo-e Ruikō is a copy of Sekine Shisei's Ukiyo-e Ruikō, Shisei Airoku 84, 84. I do hope you're following all this. I'm just reading it. I'm not sure if I'm really following it at the moment. So what is the connection between Shisei's Ukiyo-e Ruikō, Shisei Airoku 84, or 84, and Suzuki Juzo's Kazobon, Kataokabon? And what is the connection between Shisei's book and Geshin's Ukiyo-e Ruikō? Suzuki Juzo guessed that Geshin's Ukiyo-e Ruikō had it as its parent book, Suzuki Juzo's Kazobon. In that case, the Suzuki Juzo Kazobon, Kataokabon, and Geshin's Ukiyo-e Ruikō must be almost the same thing. Suzuki comments as follows about the relationship between Shisei's Ukiyo-e Ruikō, Shisei Airoku 84, 84, and Geshin's Ukiyo-e Ruikō. I, that is Suzuki Juzo, excuse me, have collated the Kazobon, Kataokabon, Ukiyo-e Ruikō in my own collection, and this Ukiyo-e Ruikō Shisei Airoku 84, 84. My Ukiyo-e Ruikō seems to be the parent book of Saito Geshin's Ukiyo-e Ruikō. Although the structure of both books is almost the same, there are so many differences in detail, such as substitute characters. Now, I do not think that the book which Shisei's book is based on is Geshin's book. From the above partial quotation, it seems that the relationship between Shisei's Ukiyo-e Ruikō, Shisei Airoku 84, 84, and Geshin's Ukiyo-e Ruikō is not one of a copy, one of the other, but certainly the books are similar. I respect Suzuki Juzo's opinion, but it seems to me that Shisei's Ukiyo-e Ruikō, Shisei Airoku 84, was based on Geshin's Ukiyo-e Ruikō. In Suzuki Juzo's Kazobon, Kataokabon, and Shisei's Ukiyo-e Ruikō, Shisei Airoku 84, Ukiyo-e Ruikō Otanampo, Kokon Yamato Ukiyo-e Shikei, Sasaya Kuninori, and Ukiyo-e Ruikō Tsuiko, Santo Kyoden, are taken all together as the Sambu, 3 works, with Shikite Samba's notes added. Furthermore, there is the postscript of Yu Sando. This is why Suzuki Juzo considers both books to be manuscripts of Ukiyo-e Ruikō in the lineage of Yu Sando. In the same way, Suzuki Juzo also regards Geshin's Ukiyo-e Ruikō as a copy of the Suzuki Juzo Kazobon, Kataokabon, and also in the lineage of Yu Sando. In the aforementioned chart, there is Ukiyo-e Ko and similar books with 3 manuscripts, and Suzuki Juzo's Kazobon, Kataokabon, is probably a copy of Yu Sando's Ukiyo-e Ruikō. Of the 4 manuscripts designated Ukiyo-e Ko and similar books, the remaining one is Ukiyo-e Ko. Now in Cambridge University Library, in Sato's former collection, there is 1 manuscript of Ukiyo-e Ruikō. That Ukiyo-e Ko consists of the Sambusaku, in other words, the Genruiko original of Ukiyo-e Ruikō, the Shikei of Kokon Yamato Ukiyo-e Shikei, and the Tsuiko of Ukiyo-e Ruikō Tsuiko, together with Samba's notes. As already mentioned about Geshin's Ukiyo-e Ruikō, Ukiyo-e Ko is probably a manuscript copy of Ukiyo-e Ruikō in the Yu Sando lineage, but the problem is that there is no postscript, Shikigo, by Yu Sando. There are also other parts missing. Normally, in a Yu Sando version of Ukiyo-e Ruikō, there is a Kansei 12, 1800 text Kyokaen by Otanampo, a Kyowa 2, 1802, Santoan by Santo Kyoden, etc. These are missing from Ukiyo-e Ko. However, in Saito Geshin's Zoho Ukiyo-e Ruikō, as appendices, there are Ukiyo-e Ruikō Iwaku, Do Furoku no Kanmatsu, Do Tsuiko Batsu, Ukiyo-e Hinmoku, Toto Guji Gaku Ryaki. Apart from the Toto Guji Gaku Ryaki, the missing parts from the Yusando version of Ukiyo-e Ruikō are included as appendices in the Zoho Ukiyo-e Ruikō. The Do Furoku no Kanmatsu, the Kyokaen, and the Tsuiko by Santo Kyoden are included in the postscript of Yusando. In fact, the Ukiyo-e Ko was even a little more complicated. That was connected with a stamp inki of the Ukiyo-e Ko. I will talk about this problem later. The parts missing from Ukiyo-e Ko are included as appendices in the Zoho Ukiyo-e Ruikō, but the troublesome part is that one part of an appendix is included in the Ukiyo-e Ko. In short, it seems that the Ukiyo-e Ko was produced in two stages. At first, the first two cho pages were not included. It seems that they were added later. When Ukiyo-e Ko was first produced, it lacked the appendices of the separate book Zoho Ukiyo-e Ruikō. So, Ukiyo-e Ko did not include Do Furoku no Kanmatsu, Do Tsuiko Batsu, and Ukiyo-e Hinmoku. Saito Geshin may have read the Yusando book, including these appendices, or borrowed the manuscript. Then he added the parts missing from the Ukiyo-e Ko as appendices to the Zoho Ukiyo-e Ruikō. Then Geshin or someone else added the first two pages to Ukiyo-e Ko. This is only my guess, but if it is right, then it is easy to understand the condition of the Ukiyo-e Ko in Cambridge University Library. It is not easy to judge whether Geshin or someone else added the first two pages. The stamps inki of Ukiyo-e Ko. The stamps inki of Ukiyo-e Ko are mysterious. Of the Ukiyo-e Ko held at Cambridge University Library, excluding the stamp of the library itself, there are a total of 4 stamps. There are 2 on the first page, Nishiyama Shōoku and Shisei Zo, and on the third page, also 2, Inbun Mishoin, which means an unrecognizable stamp, and Nishiyama Shōoku. Of course, it is unclear whose stamp is Inbun Mishoin. It may be that somebody intentionally made it unclear, but that is also uncertain. Regarding the stamps being in 2 places, it seems to have some connection with the missing parts of Ukiyo-e Ko, and as an Ukiyo-e Ryūkō manuscript of Yusando lineage, which were included as appendices, Furoku, in the Zoho Ukiyo-e Ruikō. On the first 2 pages of Ukiyo-e Ko, the Ukiyo-e Ruikō Iwaku and Ukiyo-e Hinmoku are published, which were appendices to Zoho Ukiyo-e Ruikō. In the case of Ukiyo-e Hinmoku, the latter part is abridged. On the first 2 pages, apart from this, in the same way as the Ukiyo-e Ruikō manuscript of Yusando lineage, there are the names Iwasa Matabe and Hishikawa Kichibe Moronobu. The part with these 2 names is published in Zoho Ukiyo-e Ruikō, especially as appendices. Of course, they were also included in the main text of Zoho Ukiyo-e Ruikō, so it was not necessary to include them in the appendices, but as for including them on the first 2 pages, there may have been a more complicated reason, but nowadays we do not know it. It may be that when Saito Geshin first created the Ukiyo-e Ko, he started from the 3rd page, in other words, from Hanabusa Icho Shikie Batsu, epilogue. This title was probably not included. And then, at the first stage of creating Ukiyo-e Ko, at the first part on page 3, the stamps Inbun Mishoin and Nishiyama Shōoku were included. Then the present first 2 pages were added with the stamps Nishiyama Shōoku and Shisei Zo. Then on the back of the 2nd page, the title Hanabusa Icho Shikie Batsu was added. Of the 4 stamps on Ukiyo-e Ko, 2 of them are Nishiyama Shōoku. Whose collector's mark is this, and why does it appear in 2 places? Is the owner of Nishiyama Shōoku stamp, of the Nishiyama Shōoku stamp, connected with the addition of the first 2 pages? If we take it literally, this stamp is the collector's mark of a person called Nishiyama. This makes me think of the Suyenbon manuscript of Ukiyo-e Ruikō, whose lineage included the collector Toba Nishiyama. It may be correct to consider the lineage of the Suyenbon Ukiyo-e Ruikō manuscript as in the same group as the Yusando lineage manuscripts. The Suyenbon have Suyen's postscript, Shikigo, while the Yusando books have Yusando's postscript. Suyen is Hachiya Suyen. Suyenbon, for example, the Ukiyo-e Ruikō held at the Tokyo Bunkazai Kenkyūjo, National Research Institute for Cultural Properties, has a postscript in which is written, "This blue book was collected and completed by Toba Nishiyama and was copied from Suzuki Hakuto." In other words, this Suyenbon had a note about it being a blue book and being completed by Toba Nishiyama, and it was probably a copy of a book held by Suzuki Hakuto. There seems to be some connection between the postscript of the Suyenbon, which noted it is collected by Toba Nishiyama, and the stamp Nishiyama Shōoku in the Ukiyo-e, but at the moment it is unclear what the connection may be. And there is one more confusing thing about Nishiyama. The Nishi of Nishiyama resembles the Yu of Yu Sando. Yu Sando was a man in the Bunsei era, 1818 to 1830, called Yu Sando Yasujiro. As regards Nishiyama, there was also, Yu Sun, there was also a famous collector called Okubo Yuzan. Probably there is no direct connection between these. Anyway, Nishiyama Shōoku remains unclear. I have already written that Ukiyo-e was probably handwritten by Saito Geshin, but here I would like to talk a little more about the problem of the handwriting, his seki. To determine the handwriting is very difficult, and I am not sure, but I believe that at least the greater part of Ukiyo-e was written by Saito Geshin. The reason for this is that we know that the Zoho Ukiyo-e Riko was handwritten by Saito Geshin, and we can compare the handwriting in the two books. In addition to this, various books handwritten by Saito Geshin have been put into digital format and published on the internet, so it is also possible to compare those with Ukiyo-e. The conclusion is that it's very likely that Ukiyo-e was handwritten by Saito Geshin. Next, in the Ukiyo-e, the Aikawa Masakazu Tankai Nukigaki extract is attached. I want to explain this. Aikawa Masakazu was a poet of the Edo era and a Kokugaku scholar whose real name was Tsumura Soan. Tankai was miscellaneous writings of what he had seen and heard. Saito Geshin happened to have a chance to read the Tankai and copied various things from it. The reason why the Tankai extract was added to the Ukiyo-e is that part of the extract was titled Hanabusa Icho. Of course, Hanabusa Icho was a painter included in the Ukiyo-e, and it includes Hanabusa Icho Shikie Batsu. That is why Geshin included the Tankai extract in Ukiyo-e as an appendix. I also want to talk about the problem of the number of pages, cho. In the preface, Jobun of Zoho Ukiyo-e Riko, Saito Geshin states that he created the manuscript by transcribing Kataoka Isseishi's manuscript in 1833, Tempo 4. The number of cho, pages, one cho consists of 2 pages, was 30. However, the number of cho pages of Ukiyo-e was 34, a little more. If we assume that the first 2 pages were added later, then the original version of Ukiyo-e had 32 cho pages. From the viewpoint of cho page numbers also, the possibility remains that Ukiyo-e was the manuscript from which Geshin created the Ukiyo-e Riko in 1833. As stated above, there are various things which are hard to understand about the Ukiyo-e held at Cambridge University Library. As regards manuscripts produced in the Bakumatsu and early Meiji period, of course, we cannot understand everything nowadays. Mysterious matters are hard to avoid. As regards the Ukiyo-e and the Ukiyo-e Riko referred to by Geshin in the preface of Zoho Ukiyo-e Riko, it is possible that they were the same thing. Why in the Ukiyo-e does Geshin not state that he borrowed the book collected by Suisho-shi from Kataoka Isseishi? Geshin treated Zoho Ukiyo-e Riko and Ukiyo-e as one set, and he had written this in the preface to Zoho Ukiyo-e Riko, so did he perhaps think it unnecessary to repeat this? One more thing which concerns me is the point that on the first page there is Sekine Shisei's stamp, Shisei Zo. It may be that the mysteries of Ukiyo-e have something to do with Sekine Shisei. In fact, I believe that Sekine Shisei holds the key to this problem. Probably the fact that the Ukiyo-e acquired by Sato and the manuscript of the Ukiyo-e Riko mentioned by Saito Geshin in the preface to Zoho Ukiyo-e Riko are nowadays not identical is evidence of Sekine Shisei's deep involvement in the matter. Sekine Shisei borrowed manuscripts from other collectors, and when he created his own books for his collection, he did not merely make straight copies, but added his own abbreviations, changes, and additions. Furthermore, after Saito Geshin's death, when his collection was put on sale, Sekine Shisei must surely have been consulted by Geshin's family. It would have been easy for Shisei to acquire any of Geshin's books. In cases where he had already borrowed books from Geshin and created his own transcribed books, he did not need to purchase those books. The Zoho Ukiyo-e Riko is an example of this, but in the case of the Ukiyo-e the situation seems to have been a little more complicated. Unfortunately, it does not seem to be clear at the present time. Shinobu Gusa. In this chapter until now, I have discussed Sato's librarian, bibliophiles, and collectors and their collections, including the acquisition of Zoho Ukiyo-e ruikō. I have thus attempted to understand Sato's way of collecting books. Now I would like to change the angle of inquiry and approach the problem from Sato's acquisition of documents formerly in the collection of Saito Geshin. Among the documents now held at Cambridge University Library, there are at least 12 items thought to have been formerly in Saito Geshin's collection. They are all in ERNEST Sato's former collection now. Two of these are the aforementioned Zoho Ukiyo-e ruikō and Ukiyo-e. Regarding the latter, there is no conclusive proof, but the evidence suggests that it is Saito Geshin's. The remainder are the two scrolls Shinobu Gusa and Tamagawa no Zu, and 8 books as follows. 1. Mukashi Otoko Imayo Sugata Ise Monogatari. 4. Ukiyo Zoshi, Books of the Floating World. Koshoku Fumi Denju Takasago Oshimadai Chuko Nebiki no Kadomatsu Morihisa Kanote Gashiwa. 1. Yomihon Imayo Shinwa, and 2 books about comic tanka, Kyoko Gazo Sakusha Burui and Roedai Kyokashu. Apart from the 2 scrolls Shinobu Gusa and Tamagawa no Zu, the other 8 items, books, all have the stamp Saito Bunko, so it is clear they are from Saito Geshin's former collection. In Saito Geshin's former collection, I want to focus on the documents connected with art, which Sato collected from 1877, and particularly from 1879. So here I will focus on the 2 scrolls, Shinobu Gusa and Tamagawa no Zu. Of course, the remaining items certainly also have some connection with art. First, there are the 2 items regarded as Ukiyo-e ruikō. Then in the 4 Ukiyo-e Zoshi, there are many illustrations, and in one of the tanka books, Kyoka Gazo Sakusha Burui, there are also some illustrations. But from the viewpoint of documents related to art, the most important documents are the Shinobu Gusa, probably edited and compiled by Saito Geshin and drawn by Hasegawa Sette, 1813 to 82, and the Tamagawa no Zu, which is thought to have been in Saito Geshin's collection. So I will focus on these 2 items. First, the Shinobu Gusa appears as follows in the Cambridge University Catalogue of Old Japanese Books. 122, Shinobu Gusa, compiled in Tempo 14, 1843 by Saito Geshin, scroll Bunka Tempo. In February of Tempo 14, Saito Geshin wrote the preface in his own hand, 33 documents. I have omitted the details of the 33 documents as they are complicated. There are some interesting items among them. By the way, I think Shinobu Gusa appears as one of the illustrations at the front of the book. Next, I would like to add an explanation of Shinobu Gusa. It is not written in the catalogue entry, but Cambridge University Library holds 1 scroll, first of what was originally 2 scrolls. How do we know this? In the scroll held by Cambridge, it is written Kami, indicating the first scroll of 2. There are also the following entries in Saito Geshin's diary. The last entry has already been quoted above when I introduced Sekine Shisei. Tempo 14, 1843. January 29th, I ordered Shinpachi of Kijicho to make scrolls of collected sheets, and the cost is 1 bu to shu. Tempo 14, February 17th, in the evening, Shinpachi brought or completed 2 scrolls of Shinobu Gusa. KO 3, 1867. August 27th, Sekine Shisei came and borrowed 5 volumes of Soko and 2 volumes of Shinobu Gusa. I will now give a simple explanation of these entries. First, Shinpachi of Kijicho was a person who did picture framing for Saito Geshin. Kijicho was where Geshin lived, and he was the headman, nanushi, of that and the surrounding area. Shinpachi is described in more detail in Saito Geshin's diary entry for Kaie 1848 on April 13th. I ordered Shinpachi of Kijicho to mount Kanjin no painting scroll. Geshin ordered framing of picture scrolls of Kanjin no from Shinpachi in Kijicho. This may have been Geshin's Koka Kanjin no Emaki. Furthermore, as we can see from the entries for January 29th, Tempo 14, and August 27th, KO 3, Shinobu Gusa was originally 2 scrolls. Probably it was Kami and Shimo. Sato acquired the first scroll, Kami. It is unclear what happened to the second scroll. Again, as regards the entry for August 27th, KO 3, Sekine Shisei borrows 5 volumes or scrolls of Soko and 2 scrolls of Shinobu Gusa. In the 33 items which comprise Shinobu Gusa are included picture scrolls by Shiba Kokan and prints of Torii Kiyonaga's paintings and Ryu Kyujin Gyoretsu, Okinawa processions, etc. Regarding Shiba Kokan's scrolls appearing as the preface of Shinobugusa, Geshin explains it after the preface in the following way. First, when the scroll was made, there was no preface. At that time, by chance, Kotoya Antique Shop acquired Shiba Kokan's picture scrolls. This was probably the Kotoya which Geshin frequented. In the picture scrolls, there were the Tsurezure Gusa, Essays in Idleness, by Kenko, in 74 stages. In Kokan's scrolls, human beings run around like ants, busily working, but the fruits of their labors are only old age and death. Geshin clearly thought that this matched the mood of Shinobugusa and immediately bought Kokan's scrolls from the Kotoya and added them as a preface to Shinobugusa. At Cambridge University Library, there are 3 items which, as scroll books, are similar to Shinobugusa. They are Hanjimono, Fumoto no Chiri, and Ryukyujin Gyoretsu. They are all in Sato's former collection. They are scrolls compiled by Doi Toshitsune from the former collection of the Doi family. I will refer to them again later. Tamagawa no Zu. Again, next I will introduce the scroll book from Sato's former collection called Tamagawa no Zu. The entry for this item in the Cambridge Catalogue of Old Japanese Books is as follows. 2179, Tamagawa no Zu, pictures by Hasegawa Sette, published in Bakumatsu, picture scroll book, Kansubon. Stamp. And there's a list of characters there, which I think, okay, well. Regarding the stamp in the similar Chofu Tamagawa Sozu, it probably means as follows. You can see water under rock resembles a head, and its water eventually moves to the sea and becomes waves. There is a connection between the Tamagawa no Zu in the Cambridge University Library and the Chofu Tamagawa Sozu, which is also called the Chofu Tamagawa Gazu and Chofu Tamagawa Ezu. The Education Committee of Tama City, the National Diet Library, and Waseda University Library all have copies. The Chofu Tamagawa Sozu was published in 1845. It contains a preface by Aizawa Tomonushi and Chofu Tamagawa Ezu no Ben, and pictures by Hasegawa Sette of the Tamagawa River from source to mouth, 23 prints. Aizawa Tomonushi was the village headman of a village called Sekidomura, halfway down the river, who wanted to investigate the flow of the Tama River from source to mouth, and did so while making sketches of it. The pictures are based on his rough sketches, which the painter Hasegawa Sette turned into more elegant, clean copies. Chofu Tamagawa Sozu was published by Aizawa Tomonushi. He was active in the field of flower arrangement. Hasegawa Sette was an artist active in the Bakumatsu and early Meiji period. He was born in 1813, Bunka 10, and died in 1882, Meiji 15, at the age of 69, 70 by Kazoe Doshi. Compared with Saito Geshin, he was 9 years younger, and since Geshin died in 1878, he died 4 years later. Sette's father was active as an artist in the late Edo period, and his name was Hasegawa Settan, 1778 to 1843. He achieved a high reputation for illustrating the Edo Meisho Zue, 7 scrolls, 20 volumes, which was created by Geshin's grandfather, and himself. The Edo Meisho Zue, again, you'll see that in the front pages of this book. Hasegawa Sette, with his father Settan, drew the illustrations for the Toto Saijiki, 4 scrolls, 5 volumes, edited by Saito Geshin. Sette was also responsible for the illustrations for Seikyoku Ruisan, 5 scrolls, 6 volumes, edited by Saito Geshin. As we can see from their doing the illustrations for Saito Geshin's works, Hasegawa Settan and Sette, father and son, were on intimate and friendly terms with Saito Geshin. In the Saito Geshin Nikki diary, their names also appear often. Moreover, Geshin's daughter, Kisa, became a pupil of Hasegawa Sette. According to the Saito Geshin Nikki diary, in 1844 and 1845, Koko 1 and 2, Geshin was buying illustrations. Of course, he may have acquired illustrations at other times, but since Chofu Tamagawa Sozu was published in 1845, I have concentrated on that period. Geshin bought 15 illustrations on December 7th of Koka 1, 1844. He also bought 16 or 15 illustrations on February 26th of Koka 2, 1845. Geshin, who published the Edo Meisho Zue, etc., was probably interested in illustrations published as prints. Again, in the Saito Geshin Nikki diary around the same time, there were entries about lining the back of picture scrolls. For example, in Koka 2 on January 19th, spent the whole day lining picture scrolls. These picture scrolls may have something to do with the Tamagawa no Zu picture scroll books in Sato's former collection at Cambridge University Library. But whether he made the scrolls or not, Geshin seems to have lined the pictures to preserve them. For example, again, in Koka-2 on January 19th, we can find lined the prints from various countries in his diary, and on February 4th of the same year, bought scrolls. When Saito Geshin lined prints, etc., it is not clear from his diary whether he did it himself or, as in the case of Shinobu Gusa, entrusted the work to a specialist such as Shinpachi of Kijicho. Perhaps he did both, but in the case of the entry from January 19th, spent the whole day lining picture scrolls, it seems pretty clear that he did it himself. Returning to the Tamagawa no Zu held in Cambridge University Library, it is a scroll book, but it is a little different from the Chofu Tamagawa Zu held in the National Diet Library and the Chofu Tamagawa Ezu held in Worcester University Library. The point of difference is that there are some parts missing from the Tamagawa no Zu. The missing parts are the preface written by Aizawa Tomonushi and the Chofu Tamagawa Ezu no Ben. Also, there are some prints missing from the Tamagawa River series, so the final number of prints is short. Short of the total, that is. The Chofu Tamagawa Sozu consisted of 23 prints in total. These prints sketch the river from the source to the mouth at Haneda-mura village, where I suppose Haneda Airport now stands. Is that right? Yes. However, the Tamagawa no Zu held in Cambridge University Library does not have the last 5 prints. Strictly speaking, it lacks 5 1/3 prints. In the last print, the 18th, the river runs past only 3 villages, Unane, Kuji, and Kamata. There are 3 villages which are not included, Okura, Futago, and Seta. The part downstream of these villages is missing. In modern terms, it finishes before the Tokyu-Dein-Toshi railway line crosses the Tamagawa River. It is not clear why this part was omitted. Did Saito Geshin, who had compiled Edo Meisho Zue, consider that it was not necessary? Or did he miscalculate the total length of the scroll? Tsukuba University Library also has the Chofu Tamagawa Sozu. It is not a picture scroll book, Kansubon, but a Japanese book, Wasobon, with temporary binding, Karitoji. The first page is stuck to the front cover, as is the last page to the back cover. Like the Tamagawa no Zu, this book is missing the preface written by Aizawa Tomonushi and the Chofu Tamagawa Ezu no Ben. But unlike the Tamagawa no Zu held at Cambridge, there are no missing prints of the Tamagawa River from source to mouth, so there are 23 in total. Regarding the Cambridge copy of Tamagawa no Zu, the following possibility may be guessed. Hasegawa Sette and Saito Geshin became close friends through Toto Saijiki. Geshin acquired several prints of the Tamagawa River, which Sette had prepared for the Chofu Tamagawa Sozu. He may have bought them, or Sette may have given them to him as a present. Chofu Tamagawa Sozu was published by Aizawa Tomonushi in 1845, Koka 2. So Geshin was probably able to acquire the prints in the early part of 1845. After Saito Geshin acquired the series of prints drawn by Hasegawa Sette of the Tamagawa River from source to mouth, he probably made a scroll, makimono, and did the lining, urauchi, himself. The entry in his diary of January 19th of Koka 2, did lining for picture scroll, may refer to the Tamagawa no Zu held at Cambridge University Library. Since he did not have all of the 23 prints, he did not ask a professional picture framer like Shinpachi to do the job, but prepared the scroll by doing the lining himself. After Saito Geshin died in 1878, Tamagawa no Zu and Shinobu Gusa, together with Zoho Ukiyo-e ruikō and Ukiyo-e ko and other items from his collection, were put up for sale, and by chance Sato, who was frantically collecting art documents and related literature in connection with the art book he was writing with Anderson, purchased them, and they became part of his collection. Did he buy the items from a regular bookshop or through an intermediary outside the book business, outside the ring? This is unclear. The latter possibility seems more likely. Also, the putting up for sale of Geshin's collection may have been done by a friend of his, such as Sekine Shisei. Regarding this point, I shall quote from a letter sent by Sato to F.V. Dickens in the following chapter. The Tamagawa no Zu and Shinobu Gusa in the catalogue of Sato's collection. Regarding the Tamagawa no Zu, there is one more mysterious point. It is related to the catalogue of ERNEST Sato's collection. In Chapter 4, I will talk in detail about the catalogue, but within it there is a catalogue which I shall provisionally call the Brown catalogue. The Brown catalogue has the largest number of items, documents. In 1885, Sato is disposing of his collection of old Japanese books, Wakan Kosho, from his Bangkok posting, and this catalogue most clearly reveals the state of the collection immediately before it was disposed of. The Brown catalogue is simply given the title Collection Catalogue. There are many catalogues in Sato's collection with the same title. That is why I am using the term Brown catalogue, which comes from the colour of the cover. Please see Chapter 4 for further details. Regarding the Brown Catalogue, one more point must be added. As stated above, the Brown Catalogue has the largest number of items of all the catalogues of Sato's collection. It expresses clearly the high point of his collection in terms of volume. It also reveals the final state of his collection before it was disposed of. However, it does not show all of his collection. Again, I shall explain in the 4th chapter, but before he disposed of and broke up his collection when he was in Bangkok, he picked out the most precious old editions and sold them to the British Museum. And even excluding these books, the Brown Catalogue still does not reveal the whole collection which was sent from Thailand to England and Japan. In Bangkok, Sato produced a catalogue with a very long title, Sato Zosho no Uchi Gesaku Share Oyobi Chubon Zui Hitsu Gugen no Tagui Narabi ni Kokushoku Chitsuiri Nado no Shoseki Mokuroku. Wow, it is a long title. If we add this catalogue to the Brown catalogue, we can get a rough idea of the full extent of his collection. The important point about the two catalogues mentioned above is to repeat that they comprehensively include all the collection just before it was disposed of in 1885. The catalogue with the long title, Sato Zosho no, etc., was created in 1885, and as already mentioned in this book, before that, for several years, Sato had intensively increased his book collection, including art-related books. And the items collected in this period when Sato was positively collecting and buying books are only in these two catalogues, the Brown catalogue and the catalogue with the long title. As will be stated later, the art-related documents collected in later years are only in these two catalogues, particularly the Brown catalogue. Sato produced several other catalogues apart from these two. Some of them were produced quite early. If we compare the early catalogues with these two catalogues, we can to some extent plot the period when Sato made his acquisitions. This method is also useful for investigating the period of acquisition of the Zoho Ukiyo-e Ruikō, the main title of this book. Let us now return to the topic of Tamagawa no Zu. Tamagawa no Zu was the name given to the document in the Cambridge catalogue of early Japanese books. In the Brown catalogue, it goes by a different name, Musashi Tamagawa Suigen Oyobi Ryogan no Zu. Editors, artists, time of print are unknown, 1 volume. At least this is probably the same document. The troublesome point is that in the same Brown catalogue, there is Kamata Mura ni itaru tojo e makimono, Hasegawa Sette 1 scroll. This also is the Tamagawa no Zu. The Tamagawa no Zu is literally the picture scroll, emakimono, which goes as far as Kamatamura village. The same document is thus recorded under 2 different names in the Brown catalogue. When the title or name of the document are unclear, for example in the case of Tamagawa no Zu, this kind of thing can happen. The volume of the collection is large, so Sato and his secretary could not grasp the full extent of it. There are double entries, but in any way, the Tamagawa no Zu appears in the Brown catalogue. It does not appear in earlier catalogues, so Tamagawa no Zu had probably been purchased no earlier than 2 or 3 years before Sato disposed of his collection in 1885. By the way, Shinobu-gusa is also included in the Brown catalogue. However, it is included as a scroll book, kansubon, under a different title, an assortment of old printed ranking charts, advertising flyers, etc. And there are similar kansubon at Cambridge University Library, Hanji Mono, Fumoto no Chiri, and Ryukyujin Gyoretsu. These 3 scroll books, like Shinobu-gusa, are included in the Brown catalogue. Hanji Mono and Ryukyujin Gyoretsu have the same titles, but Fumoto no Chiri is under the title Kohan Sugoroku. These 3 scroll books, like Shinobu-gusa and Tamagawa no Zu, were probably acquired some years before 1885, in fact 2 or 3 years before. The examples of the kansubon Shinobu-gusa and Tamagawa no Zu show us that the 2 catalogues can help us to investigate the period when Sato acquired them. So if we look at the Zoho Ukiyo-e Ruikō and the related works Ukiyo-e Shino-den, Ukiyo-e-ko, and Iwademo no Ki, we get the following results. These are all included in the Brown catalogue, but not in any other catalogue. The Zoho Ukiyo-e Ruikō, manuscript 3 volumes, Ukiyo-e Shino-den, manuscript 1 volume, are included under their titles. The Iwademo no Ki is included as Iwadenmo no Ki, manuscript 1 volume. The Ukiyo-e-ko is included as Ukiyo-e Ruikō, manuscript 1 volume, even though the titles are different. I will discuss this in a later chapter. Cambridge University Library has at least 12 items from Saito Geshin's former collection. I have already stated that of these 12, Shinobu-gusa, Tamagawa no Zu, Zoho Ukiyo-e Ruikō, and Ukiyo-e-ko are included in the Brown catalogue. In fact, the remaining 8 are either included in the Brown catalogue or the catalogue with the long title, Sato Zosho no, etc. Imayo Shinwa, Kyoka Gazo Sakushaburi, and Roedai Kyoka-shoo are included in the former Brown catalogue. The remaining 5 are in the latter catalogue. They are Mukashi Otoko Imayo Sugata, Koshoku Fumi Denju, Takasago Oshimadai, Chuko Nebiki no Kadomatsu, Morihisa Konote Gashiwa. Of the 5 items in the catalogue with the long titles, Satow's Osho no, etc., the last 4 are tagged by Aston as follows. I will explain simply about Aston's tags in the next chapter, but after Aston received many books from Satow, he added these tags to Satow's former collection and to his own. According to Aston's tags, these 4 items each consist of 5 volumes bound as one, including illustrations, and are cloth bound. In this chapter, I am talking about documents in the former collection of Saito Geshin, which are now held at Cambridge University Library. They are all part of Satow's former collection, but not all of Saito Geshin's former books collected by Satow have ended up in the Cambridge University Library. Some were taken into the British Museum. These books from Satow's former collection in the British Museum are now either in the British Library, the former library of the British Museum, or the British Museum as constituted after the British Library split away in 1973. The British Library has the Ressen Zusan. The former British Museum has 2 Ressen Zusan. One of these is now at the British Museum and the other is at the British Library. When the British Museum and the British Library separated in 1973, one document was moved from the former British Museum Library, now the British Library, to the British Museum. I will explain this in more detail later, but the Ressen Zusan now held at the British Library is from Saito Geshin's former collection. Probably Satow purchased it together with the Zoho Ukiyo-e Ruikō and other books in Saito Geshin's collection and donated them all to the British Museum. The reason we know the Ressen Zusan is from Saito Geshin's former collection is that it has Saito Geshin's ex libris stamp, Edo Saito Shi, Mr. Saito Edo. This ex libris stamp confirms that the book is from Saito Geshin's former collection, as it does in the case of Cambridge University Library. The purchase of Sekine Shisei's former collection and the possibility of screening. In the first half of this book, Sekine Shisei was introduced as a collector with a deep connection with Saito Geshin. According to the Cambridge Catalogue of Early Japanese Books, there are now at least 22 items from Sekine Shisei's former collection at the Cambridge University Library. They all have the Shisei Zo ex libris stamp, Inki. Sekine Shisei's grandson, Sekine Toshio, notes in the commentary section of the Sekine Bunko Mokoroku catalogue that after the Meiji Restoration, Shisei let go many of his books in order to make a living, so it is not strange that Ernest Satow would have acquired them in the early Meiji period. I will explain in detail in the next chapter, but when Satow collected books, he did not buy from the usual bookshops, but sought to buy rare books from people outside the book-selling business. It may be that the collector Sekine Shisei was such a person. Listing up the 22 documents in the Cambridge catalogue, they are as follows. They are classified as Joruri-related, 7 items, Kabuki-related, 11 items, and miscellaneous, 4 items. They are all either entered in the Brown catalogue or the catalogue with the long title, Satow's Osho no, etc. All items except the miscellaneous items which are in the Brown catalogue are in the latter catalogue. I've also added the different titles, including different characters, used in the Cambridge catalogue where applicable. In some cases, Romanized titles look the same. Almost feel that one needs a Venn diagram here, but anyway. Joruri related, Harada no Jiro Tanenao, Satsu, Harada Jiro, Bonten Koku Satsu, Shin Taishoku kan Mizu Karakuri Satsu, Shin Taishoku, Hyakunichi Soga Satsu, Hiragana Taiheiki Satsu, Hiragana Taiheiki, Shinju Nimai Ezoshi Satsu, Shokatsu Komei Kanai Gundan Ezukushi Satsu. Kabuki related, Nani wa Mukashi Gatari, Samban Suzuki Satsu, Nani wa Tachigiki Mukashi Banashi. Yaro, excuse me. Yaro Nigiri Kobushi, Satsu Kohan Shibai Kyogen, Keisei Asamagatake, Satsu Keisei Asamagatake, Ishin Onna Narukami, Satsu Onna Mikado Aigo no Waka, Bonten Goku Takarabune, Satsu, Aikyo Sumidagawa, Satsu, Aikyo Sumidagawa, Keisei Chihiro no Umi, Satsu, Keisei Chihiro no Umi, Keisei Sansho Dayu, Satsu, Keisei Sansho Dayu, Keisei Sansho Dayu, Satsu, Keisei Sansho Dayu, Keisei Futagamiyama, Satsu, Keisei Futagamiyama. Edo Soga, Satsu, Edo Soga. Feels like reading football results. Miscellaneous. Edo Hogaku Anken no Zukan, Cha, Edo Hogaku Ankenzu. Hoe Bukan Taisei, Cha, Hoe Kobuka. Ukiyo-e ko, cha, Ukiyo-e ruikō. Oma, jirushi, cha. Of the above 22 items, the Ukiyo-e ko is the same as the one I have already introduced in this chapter. This manuscript is entered in the Brown catalogue as Ukiyo-e ruikō, 1 volume. The fact that these 22 documents are only entered in either the Brown catalogue or the catalogue with the long title, Sato Zosho no, etc., indicates the period in which they were acquired. They were probably purchased 2 or 3 years before Sato disposed of and broke up his collection in 1885. As stated above, while Saito Geshin was alive, Sekine Shisei often borrowed his books, including those in his own hand, and made his own copies, manuscripts. Zoho Ukiyo-e ruikō is an example of this. After Saito Geshin died, it seems likely that when his collection was put up for sale, his next of kin consulted Sekine Shisei. So Shisei probably had first pick of the collection. Shisei had no need to choose the Zoho Ukiyo-e ruikō, of which he already had made his own copy. Ernest Sato probably acquired Geshin's former collection after Sekine Shisei had chosen the books which he wanted for himself. This is how Sato managed to acquire the Zoho Ukiyo-e ruikō. It is clear that Sato managed to acquire at least 13 books of Geshin's former collection, including the Zoho Ukiyo-e ruikō. So what is the connection between the books which Sato purchased from Geshin's former collection and the 22 books which he purchased from Sekine Shisei's former collection? Of course, there is no direct documentary evidence or proof, but it seems they were at least linked in time. I will discuss this in a later chapter. And that, my dear friends, is the end of chapter 2, page 106. There we are, chapter 3. Ernest Sato builds his book collection is for another time. I will stop the share now. Yes, I'm still here and survived that reading. So hope to see you again next time. Thank you very much. Goodbye.